Good afternoon and welcome back to College Football on Tap, brought to you by On Tap Sportsnet. I am Chris White. Alongside me is Bruno Oger. Bruno, how was your week? How you feeling?
A lot better. We had a rough show on Monday. I think we were both kind of down in the blues. It was tough for us to kind of even want to talk about college football after the Notre Dame game, but
Yeah, I watched it. I watched a part back. It was very low energy.
I'm feeling a lot more energy today. I'm very excited for this weekend. Actually, it's going to be a really good weekend. It starts off tonight. That's how about yourself? How are you feeling?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long weekend. Got one more day to go. As normal, I work my Saturdays, but usually home by 12:15 to not miss any action. So just trying to get through one more day. Got some yard work to do. I got my dad New Balances on.
Nice.
So get that done, and I'll hang out with the kids till they go to bed, and then tune into some Utah tonight. Utah and Oregon State. How we feeling?
So this is a very good matchup for a Friday night. Starts at 8 p.m., so a later game too, which is kind of nice actually for a Friday. I bowl on Friday night, so I'll actually probably get home around halftime, which I think this is going to be a very close game. We got number 10 versus number 19. One thing that we don't know yet, though, is the status of Cam Rising, as Utah is kind of keeping it under wraps. Nate Johnson and Cam Rising have been splitting reps all week. Last week, we said that Cam was going to play. That's what we were reading. He was going to play on Saturday. He ended up not playing. So we still don't know the status, and Utah's kind of not going to let us know probably until game time. Because I just tried to look. I still haven't seen anything on it yet.
Yeah, I have been scrolling the internet all day looking for it. Still nothing yet on my end. I'm kind of worried about Utah. I personally think they're the better team, especially being it is at Oregon State, right?
Correct, yeah.
They're at Oregon State, but I think Utah's a better team. The defense, the special teams, they kind of blow them out of the water. Personally, I heard from one of the guys that I like to listen to about betting saying that he likes Oregon State money line just all day. No points, nothing. He's their favorite for tonight, and I don't see it. We were just talking off camera about DJ and his 201 passing yards.
That's the spread that
over-under.
The over-under that they have on him today is 201.5. And I've seen a lot of sharps saying that he's going to go under on the passing yards. And, I could see that happening. Utah has only allowed 212 passing yards per game this year, but they also don't give up any rushing yards. They give up 51 yards per game on the rushing game. So, this game's going to be close. They're both going to be trying to move the ball on each other. I think Oregon State's going to struggle a lot more in that area, and I think that's what people are doubting on, is they think that Oregon State will move the ball a little bit more, and that's why the odds have shifted in their favor. And I think it's also just the idea that Cam Rising won't play, is that what I'm guessing? Because I'm seeing it at +4.5 for Utah. And, I mean, I get it's at Oregon State and everything too, but Utah,
give them the 3 for home field advantage.
Yeah. And I mean, Utah just in general, I think, is the better team in this situation. But Oregon State is also coming off of an emotional loss last week. Them coming home, it could go either way for them. How do they respond to the loss that they had at Washington State last week? So,
right. That is tonight at 8 on FS1. So I'll be tuning in for part of it until I go to sleep, but I think it's going to be a showdown to the end. Probably a low-scoring affair, 17-14, 17-10, somewhere in that ballpark.
I was thinking 17-14 too, so maybe I should check if there's like a correct score bet on that you can make. Throw $10 on it because I'm sure that can make us a lot of money.
Couldn't hurt. Ron, we see you out there in the YouTube comments. Thank you. My New Balance Dad 3000s are fire.
Yeah, so we've been kind of promoting it a lot during the show. You can speak to us on YouTube. You could talk to us on Facebook. If you have questions for us, we'll try to answer them along the way. We'd like some fan involvement. If you're enjoying the show, just give us a couple of likes and subscribe to the On Tap channels. It's helps us out. It keeps us around so that we can keep doing this and you keep getting this content. But back onto track. So I think we're both in agreement here. Utah, we think, is the better team. I think that they're going to win the game. I also think it does make a difference if Cam Rising plays or not, because since Johnson took over, because he was actually the third stringer coming into the season, and he ended up taking over the starting job as the original starter, who was replacing Cam Rising while he's trying to recover from the ACL. Just wasn't cutting it. Johnson's been a lot better. He's a freshman, but still not putting up the numbers that Utah would like. And I think that's the main thing. You see Cam Rising come out on that field and play tonight. I think Oregon State's in for a long day.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's like a late decision. They get Cam Rising out of the tunnel. That team's gonna be so fucking fired up. I mean,
yeah.
They might actually
shaking in the crowd. They're not going to be happy at Oregon State.
Oh no, I wouldn't want to be in the student section in that crowd tonight if he comes out of that tunnel first.
Yeah, so we're both on the same track here. This is going to be an exciting game. Awesome way to start out the week. And there is some other games, and I'll kind of talk about one of them in the betting segment today. But there is 2 other decent football games tonight too. So there is a lot of college football to watch. So great start to the week. Excited to get going really early this week with some good matchups. There's another one that's at 9:15, BYU Cincinnati. That's going to be a really good game, but we'll get into that later. So we'll get on to a Saturday slate. We'll start with where
we're at and head over to Southern Cal at Colorado.
Yeah, so USC, Colorado, 11 a.m. Tomorrow. There's a lot of good stories coming out for this game. Just surrounding Colorado this week. Just a quick mention of the Travis Hunter and Henry Blackburn from Colorado State. If you all remember, Henry Blackburn had a late hit on Travis Hunter a couple weeks ago that ended up giving Travis Hunter a liver laceration. So Travis Hunter's obviously been out. He's been in the hospital. There was a lot of threats that were coming Henry Blackburn's way that were kind of unnecessary. Not kind of, really fucked unnecessary. Up. Yeah, not great. And threats to his family and things that you don't want to see. It's a game at the end of the day. Travis Hunter and Henry Blackburn went bowling this week together. Just the kind of thing of solidarity, saying like
cleared for physical activity.
Morons, you know.
No, it is good to see them on the same page and no hard feelings there, or maybe there are hard feelings and it was for the newspapers and guys like you and me, but it is good to see them bury the hatchet like that, because there is no room in anything, let alone sports, for death threats and that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Other news coming out of that game, we're still unclear about Shiloh Sanders. He was hospitalized with a kidney injury.
Shiloh Sanders is the safety for Colorado, for those of you who may not know. That is also the son of Deion Sanders.
And he is a DB. And on USC, Brendan Rice, who leads a Pac-12, who leads USC in receiving touchdowns, is the son of Jerry Rice. So there could be a little flashback Jerry Deion moments going on here if he is playing tomorrow.
Yeah, so Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice, 2 legends of the NFL. Jerry Rice, we were actually talking about another thing off camera, how I, being a little bit older than the Gerbs here, I remember seeing Jerry Rice play where he doesn't quite remember it. His first memory is the Red Sox.
04 Red Sox, baby.
Yeah. So that's his first actual sports memory. And I was telling him how, I sadly remember the whole entire 1998 Chicago Cubs lineup from front to back still. The other day with the Seiya Suzuki drop and bringing up Brent Brown in that 1998 season and the Ron Santo moment. But yeah, off topic, but
at least you got to see a Bulls championship in there.
Yeah. I remember. I actually think I remember the last 2. I kind of sort of remember 96. But yeah, so we have this matchup. USC is a huge favorite, obviously coming out of the performance that Colorado had last week, and USC should dominate this game. The only saving grace is maybe that they're in Boulder, maybe a freak snowstorm. I don't know.
Famous September 30th snowstorm coming their way.
Well, it is Colorado.
And USC Caleb Williams, some other news that we'll kind of touch on more, has fallen out of the top spot on a handful of Heisman leader lists.
Yeah,
well,
so I'm guessing the replacement is Michael Penix Jr.
Yep, Washington.
Yeah.
And well-deserved, too.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into him in a little bit as well. But, Caleb Williams, obviously a star-studded talent. It's really hard to repeat as a Heisman. But this is probably his first real game, in terms of a team that was ranked last week. Obviously not ranked after the performance they had last week. And I think that this is an opportunity for him to show out. This is going to be the most eyes that they've had on USC because Colorado still does have that novelty right now. I think after this game, it wears off just because USC is probably going to blow them out. At least I think that's how it's going to end up going.
Probably going to be the case.
Yeah, so we'll see how it ends up going. But this is a chance for him to show out in terms of the Heisman race. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of eyes on him, and they're going to be wanting to see that Caleb Williams that we saw last season, who led USC to a better season than they've had in quite a few years. So
now Caleb Williams is a junior, right? He is declaring as long as it's, to his dad's liking.
Yeah, as long as it's to his dad's liking, the Chicago Bears. Well, we'll see.
Well, maybe Michael Penix Jr. will get the Cardinals slot then.
Yeah. Heck, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, I don't know if the Bears are a spot that any quarterback wants to go to. So
no, I don't think Soldier Field's a place that even a fan wants to go to right now.
No. A lot of our friends are going this weekend though, so that's it. That's going to be sad for them, I'm guessing.
Have fun.
2-0-3 teams.
It's going to be a classic Iowa match out there. Final score 5-2.
Should be riveting. But yeah, okay, we keep getting off topic with the USC Colorado game. I think it's just because there's not much else to talk about with it. The good little feel-good stories there, and just interesting. Hopefully, Shiloh Sanders is able to play. Like to see him and Brendan Rice collide a little bit. It'll be cool to see. I'm sure they'll make comments about it on the broadcast if he is able to play. So
maybe a cool montage or something during commercial we'll get to see. Or
and one thing that I'm seeing is a lot of injuries on the Colorado side, not making this any easier. Probably has a lot to do with their inexperience. They're getting beat up a little bit, but we know it's a promising future for them. But this isn't going to be their week. No,
it's not. And I mean, just a week's rest time for a defense that was out on the field for, I don't remember the exact amount, but the time of possession was pretty gnarly last week with Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I understand they're 18, 19, 21 years old, but bodies don't just recuperate like that, man. It's they're beat up, and if it keeps rolling this way, they're going to stay beaten up until the end of the year.
Yeah, it's hard, and I mean, obviously the Travis Hunter injury is a different story considering what his injury was, not your everyday injury, but
I saw Dion doesn't want him to play. Is that kind of like a ploy, like, oh well, USC and Oregon might have blew us out, but our guy wasn't out there? Or is he looking at longevity? Because now he's a sophomore, so you get a whole nother season out of him at least.
I think it's more or less that Dion understands it's just a game. He's made those comments before, like, yeah, he's got this swagger about him, and he wants to show up. And
the OG ball is life guy. Yeah. I mean,
be Dion. He wants to be primetime, just like he always was when he played the game of football. played the game of baseball. That's how prime time is. And I think he's just a really caring individual. He's an actual head coach that like anybody would want to play for, which that's scary for the rest of college football because you see stuff like that and more recruits are going to keep on going to wherever Dion is. And
yeah, I remember that talking to you. I don't know if it was one of the first episodes or if it was just me and you bullshitting like we normally do, but I don't think he'll be in Colorado forever. I didn't think he was going to be in Jackson State for long.
Yeah.
How different is a recruiting game going to change with him out there now? Like, are you going to start getting these guys? Like, I think Hunter's from Mississippi, I think.
I'm not sure.
But, like, that's SEC territory right there, and that's a 5-star DB. Like, that's Saban territory you're taking recruits from. How big of an impact is Dion going to make recruiting-wise? And it's already showing. I mean,
I will tell you my bold prediction I've been thinking about a little bit. If Oklahoma fails underneath head coach Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
It's somebody else now, isn't it?
It's not Lane, Lincoln, and another L. They all confuse me.
God dang it. But if Oklahoma ends up failing, I know it's under a new head coach within the last 2 years. I think that's where his next stop will be with the SEC being a thing. I just kind of feel like Oklahoma's a fit for the style of football that he likes to play. And, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. This is kind of crazy future tense talk, but that would be my bold prediction is Oklahoma would be his next stop.
Did you hear mine in the beginning of the year? This definitely wasn't on camera. No. Lincoln Riley is the head coach of USC. And if Saban has another less than satisfying year, he's going to go and win out West and then retire.
Yeah.
And kind of sneak in USC, especially with them going to the Big Ten now. I mean, yeah, that'd be some wild shit.
It could be very interesting. And thanks, Ron. Ron in the comments, let us know. Riley is at USC.
Everyone thinks he's going to FSU, Ron.
Yeah, I understand it, but how can he go to FSU right now with the way FSU's playing? They finally turned that thing around.
You can't justify that.
Yeah, so it's going to be a long time before I think that job opens because of the way FSU has started this season. One day we're gonna have you on this show, Ron. That'll be a fun day for us.
All right. We've spent more than enough time kind of talking about USC and Colorado. I think we've only got one semi-ACC game slotted for us to talk about, and they are facing our boys at home. 11 Notre Dame at 17 Duke. I think it's like 5.5 points Notre Dame's way. I've seen a lot of people giving straight money lines to Duke. What are your feelings on that?
I look at the stats on these two teams. Notre Dame, obviously last week, even they don't give up a lot of pass yards or rushing yards. I think their passing yards per game is like around 150. The rushing yards is 111. And then Duke is kind of a very similar team as they only give up 143 pass yards per game and 133 yards rushing, though. That's the number to me right there. 133 yards rushing, and they're about to face Audric Estime.
I saw something earlier today. It wasn't accredited, so I didn't fact check it or anything. But a pretty well-known college football Twitter page had season leaders written out, and Estime has I forget how many it is, a ridiculous amount more yards than the second guy in line, and he's taken like 25 to 30 less snaps too. The dude's playing an unreal level this year.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it a lot. One of my main complaints with Notre Dame's game plan last week was not enough Estime.
He was out there,
especially
he just
in that first half. I think he only had 6 carries. Yeah, so they were using a lot of running backs. Notre Dame, stick to a game plan here. Marcus Freeman, stop trying to hurt yourself because you're doing it a lot lately. I'm sorry, I like you a lot, but you're doing it a lot. Audric Estime needs to get the ball in this game, and that's the difference maker. If Audric Estime is not the one getting the ball on a consistent basis, Notre Dame could be in trouble, and they could be up for another upset this week with Duke. Duke's got a stellar defense. I stated it already, but the rushing game, just pound it down their throat, and Notre Dame will win this game. They're bigger. You just got to be the more physical team.
Yeah. And last week, I mean, I love to say it, emotional loss. Big time. Probably the biggest since that Clemson game.
Yeah.
Last year, I don't think anybody expected Notre Dame to be better than 10-2 from the first place. They didn't even get there.
Yeah, I was hurt. I was hurt by this game a lot. I mean, it still kind of was. I was thinking about it on Wednesday, and I was like, man, do I even care about Notre Dame Duke right now? I'm just freaking hurt. And then, last night, sometime in the middle of the night at work, I'm like, if they go 11-1, it's all good. It's going to be great. And if they go out there and beat Duke, maybe we're going to be feeling a little bit different about things. I still want to see them, even if they go 10-2, play a great bowl game either way. So, fan to the end. It's just hurt. I compare this to 2005, the Bush Push game.
Goddamn Bush Push.
I remember sitting there as a young adolescent kid, throwing a ball against my top of the ceiling on the top stair of my house, just throwing it against the ceiling for about 3 hours, saying, I can't believe this happened. Why the fuck did this happen? Just so upset. And last week was very similar. Like I teared up. I cried a bit because it hurt. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm a man. And, it's going to be a very interesting matchup, but one to be completely non-homer about it. Like I just stated, if Notre Dame doesn't pound the ball on them, I think Duke is going to have a very good shot at winning this game. If they run the ball a lot, I know Sam Hartman could throw. You set up the pass with the run. If you pound the ball, the pass is going to be there because Duke's going to be loading up front, and that's what they're going to have to do. Notre Dame's the bigger team. They're going to be more they have to be more physical. Duke's going to come out there ready to beat them. They want that win. They want their fans to rush the field again. They already had it with Clemson.
Hell yeah.
They want to do it again. It's going to be a hot crowd. I mean, not the biggest of stadiums, but it's going to be a hot crowd.
Yeah, we need to get our DBs some stickum while we're at it. But I think this game is going to go one of two ways. Notre Dame loses by a field goal, or Notre Dame wins, shamefully 41-10 or something like that. I'm not going to touch it betting wise. I don't really know what to make of it.
Question for you. Since you have it that close, do you think that you have the reason why, if it's that close, you have Duke winning is because you don't trust Marcus Freeman and the coaching staff towards the end of the game?
No, I think that Notre Dame is going to go out there pissed off and mad and get back what they think they deserve and what they want. And it's going to end up just biting them in the ass. Like, they're going to get mad. They're going to take stupid late hits, stupid penalties, stupid holds, roughing passers. They're going to want to come back, make a statement.
Can you credit that to coaching, though? I mean, if that's the case.
And they should be mad at Al Golden and the number 11 and Marcus Freeman. So, yeah. I guess it all starts somewhere. And we've talked about how important locker rooms are. And you usually have two leaders in a locker room. You have your quarterback and you have your coach. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine anybody was too hyped up during Freeman's post-game speech in the locker room last week.
Yeah. I kind of disagree with you on that point just because, they did give up a touchdown, but they did end up coming back and taking a 14-10 lead. They were the better team. I mean, we said it.
No, and they absolutely were. My whole thing is the last drive, the passes, the 10 on the field for the final 2 plays.
I get it.
There's so many things. You have to do so many things wrong in a row for shit to end up in a certain way. And we watched it happen. After the punt, the first pass to the outside and he curled back into stay in bounds. I understand that. They were backed up on their own 4, 6, whatever. But now you're in openish field. You're on your own 14, 15, 16, 17 yard line. Give the ball to estimate. Get Tyree the fuck out of there. Get everyone else out of there. You want a downhill runner. Find a hole, smash through it. 2 first downs, that game's over.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to why did Al Golden do this? Well, why did Marcus Freeman do this? That's not even a conversation. And Notre Dame's talking about going 6-0 this week, not 5-1.
Or 4-2, as a lot of people might be on.
Or 4-2, as the Twittersphere thinks.
Yeah. So, interesting matchup. It is actually one of the bigger matchups again of the week. We're not just being homers on this. It's 2 ranked teams, 17 and 11. Notre Dame didn't fall a lot last week. So we'll see how it goes. I'm back on board. As long they gotta be smart tomorrow, and that's all I got on it. I'm ready.
Zach, I see you in the comments, and you did have a dog in the fight. I saw you checking DraftKings about every 30 seconds, buddy.
True. I think he threw $50 down on him like I did. So
I think they were a leg in one of his parlays too, if I remember right. Me and him were sitting next to each other, ripping zins and drinking beers like they were going out of style, and he was screaming at the TV just as much as I was. Having absolutely zero respect for Ron's parents' house.
Maybe he's turning over. His dad was a big Notre Dame fan, so
okay, making some sense here now.
All right. We'll move forward. I think the next big matchup, and it's kind of being talked about a lot, SEC matchup, LSU versus Ole Miss this week. So moving from Notre Dame to Brian Kelly, great transition. LSU ranked number 13 coming into it. Ole Miss 20. Ole Miss coming off of a loss against Alabama. LSU coming off of a tight win against Arkansas. It's going to be interesting to see. We mentioned it on Monday's show. How does LSU come back into this game after a great performance 2 weeks ago, a struggling performance last week when we thought they were going to go out there and blow them out? What LSU team shows up this week?
Fuck me. Probably pretty good. After I saw Ole Miss, excuse me, I saw Ole Miss beat up on Tulane week 2, I think.
Yeah.
They came back in the second half. They looked great. They had another good game, and then they looked flat against Alabama. And, on a peak status, they might have hit it because their schedule is only going to get so much harder.
Yeah.
And LSU is just another bump in the road. LSU, I've been saying all year, I think they're the more realistic SEC team that has a loss to kind of claw their way back and try and make a playoff push. And after that tight loss last week, I think they're really going to come in and pound Ole Miss. But I also thought Ole Miss was going to beat Alabama last week, so what the hell do I know?
Yeah, it's kind of a tale of two stories because 1 week you're on Ole Miss and you're all about it, and then next week you're kind of looking at them and they're playing LSU, and I think there's probably an argument there that LSU might be better than Bama. We'll see in a couple of weeks.
I personally think that. I know we watched that last year while we were crying about how Brian Kelly won a big game.
Yeah. I think it's the quarterback situation because Jaden Daniels, he's a good quarterback. He's just got to be smart with the football. I think he threw a couple of interceptions last week. I think he had no interceptions coming into the game, if I recall. He's just got to be smart with the football, and LSU should be good. This game is at Ole Miss, which, that crowd's going to be hyped up. I believe that it might be a night game as well. 5 p.m. start, so it'll be that kind of twilight kind of game, especially in Mississippi. So I think Jane Daniels is a great talent, and he'll probably be the reason if LSU does win. You know, Logan Diggs being a big part of that as well. I think when Diggs is getting involved in that game, LSU's offense looks a lot better. So I think LSU is going to have a big game as well. I think LSU is going to take Ole Miss down, and I hate saying it, but I'm probably also betting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jaden Daniels is a very good ball player. I mean, he just has great vision. That SEC crowd's a big one to live up to, and he's only a sophomore.
I would have to double check on that. Yeah, he's a senior.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a senior.
Second year starting?
Yes.
Okay. He's a senior. Okay. Well, so he's been under the lights before, but as a starter, all these SEC games they all matter. Doesn't matter if it's Vanderbilt or Georgia.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna have to come out and see. I think LSU handles them easily. I was wrong last week. We'll find out again.
Yeah. I completely agree with you on it. It's that's gonna be another fun game to watch. And that's one of 4 first ranked matchups as well. And it's a big game for both of them because, Ole Miss, not your prototypical team as well that normally makes college football playoff, but you lose one game, you have that strength of schedule. It's always a possibility if you win out and you go to SEC title game. So big game for both teams. It's going to be fired up. Another big game that we got between ranked matchups. I mean, I don't know if you call it a big game. We got a basketball school. We got Kansas versus Texas.
Jayhawks, baby.
Kansas is ranked. Texas is number 3 right now. It's at Texas. Texas is a pretty big favorite. Not insanely huge, but a pretty big favorite. Can the Jayhawks contend with the Texas Longhorns?
No.
No.
Yeah, we every week we go through this list on our iPhone notes and we put together big games, talking points. And as I was going through Bleacher Reports, scouring through games, I looked at it. I was like, that's not a big game, but they're both ranked. So let's throw it on there. Let's talk about it a little bit. Good for Kansas sneaking in. I think they're going to be out just as fast as they got in, though.
The one thing that I think about Kansas, I mean, their strength of schedule so far, not the greatest, but last week they did play BYU. BYU, I think, they're normally a very good school.
They're a very okay school. They kind of sit in our favorite list of like 12 to 17 range, kind of stuck in that vortex.
Yeah, so last week they ended up being BYU. A couple of weeks ago they beat U of I, Illinois. And they beat Illinois pretty handedly. I think Illinois scored more late when Kansas was up pretty big and Illinois was never in the game. Kansas has looked good so far. So you got to give credit where credit's due, but overall, the offense isn't going to be able to contend with Quinn Ewers in Texas. I don't think that they can handle the defense of Texas. Not that Texas's defense has put out the most insane numbers. They do give up rushing yards. They average 87 rushing yards per game that they give up. So nothing like insane that they're not able to run on. And I know that's a big part of what Kansas likes to do just because their running back there, Devin Neal, has been pretty dynamic in their game so far this year. And the quarterback play is just meh. So Kansas is going to try their system. I believe they run a one back system, which not a lot of teams really do. So Kansas is going to try and beat Texas up front. I just, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, you could approach it any way you want. Pass offense, run offense, little hybrid in there. I don't think it matters. Because like you had mentioned, Texas doesn't have the world's best defense, but they have a solid defense, a tough defense. But they could start their second stringers, and I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Quinn Ewers still. I
So
think Texas just moves the ball around too well.
you think that the spread is 16.5. You think that's too small for this ranked versus ranked matchup?
I think it's that small because it's ranked versus ranked. If Kansas was 26 instead of 24, I think it would probably be a little higher. If they were the first team out of the top 25, probably a little higher. But I don't decide where they go. I also don't live in Vegas or write the books, but might make one of those alternate spreads I like doing, like losing money on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Texas performs and how Kansas performs, if Kansas could even stay in the game for a while.
Did you say 16.5?
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you, Kansas will not be my underdog this week.
Okay.
I'll leave you with that.
All right. Yeah, so, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think Kansas does everything they can to keep the score tight early, but at the end of the day, it doesn't end up working out that way.
All right. Let's head back over to
So I think that we missed something in terms of a game on our list because it's not a ranked versus ranked matchup, but it's an ACC game, and I wanted to kind of throw it in there. Syracuse and Clemson this week.
Okay.
Syracuse is 4-0 coming into this game. Clemson is 2-2 coming into this game, and Syracuse is a very underrated school. Yes, another basketball school, but a very underrated school in terms of where their football program is at right now. So I just did want to make a mention of them. Coming in this game 4-0. Last year, Clemson and Syracuse played a big game against each other where Clemson was undefeated and Syracuse was 6-0 coming into that game as well. Clemson was 7-0. And Clemson ended up winning that game 27-21. That's a lot to take in for that Syracuse team being so close to beating Clemson. I think that Syracuse is really going to put on a clinic here. I think they are going to play great football. They are an underdog in this game, but I think they win. I think that they take Clemson. I think Syracuse is getting underrated for no reason. Ron in the comments saying Schrager, the quarterback at Syracuse, is a dude. Like, they're very talented. I don't like how underrated Syracuse is coming into this game.
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention to too much Syracuse football, honestly, but I pulled up some numbers just while we're sitting here, and they've put up 65, 48, 35, and 29 over 4 games, and they weren't the best of opponents. I mean, the strength of schedule wasn't there. Tomorrow's going to be their real first game. I guess apart from Purdue, which they won by 15.
I think you got to get Army.
I think that Schrager dude is – I think Ron is right. I think that Schrager dude might be legit. These are some pretty solid numbers.
Yeah, spit them off for me.
All right, we got Syracuse at Minnesota. I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
I went too far back. That was a pinstripe ball. Colgate at Syracuse, 65-0. Western Michigan at Syracuse, 48-7. Syracuse at Purdue, 35-20, and Army at Syracuse, 16-29.
It's not bad.
No, I mean, they're not. I mean, it's not all Citadels in there, but it's not the hardest schedule either, but they're putting up numbers.
And the quarterback that we were talking about, it's Schrader, not Schrager.
Schrader, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like a real name.
And what you actually have to look at, if you actually look at his numbers, one thing that Syracuse likes to do is a little bit of that option. He's got over 300 yards rushing this year, 6 touchdowns. So he's not just passing the ball, he's doing a little bit of everything.
6 on the ground?
Yeah.
Nice. Syracuse starting out hot, putting up numbers, looking ahead. The strength of schedule definitely comes in. They play Clemson at North Carolina, at Florida State, at Va Tech, in a row, Vatex at night, and then they kind of loosen up again with BC, Pitt at Georgia Tech, and Wake Forest to finish off their season. So they've got some work to do, but the Schrader kid that Ron loves so much, we're going to actually see, because over the last 2.5 minutes, I might have become a closet Syracuse fan.
I always feel like I am a closet Syracuse fan, just kind of there. But I mean, last year I remember cheering for him in that game against Clemson. I'll be cheering for him this weekend. I kind of like just the style of play that they have. I remember, was it John Shire? Was it John Shire who was the quarterback at Syracuse as well after he played basketball at Duke?
I'm not sure.
I forget which kid it was, because I know Shire's the head coach at Duke now basketball. But dang, I'm not sure if it was Shire or not, but I remember him going over to Syracuse then to play quarterback after he was done with his basketball career at Duke. So
do you remember Notre Dame beating the piss out of them in the Shamrock Series a few years ago?
Yeah, good time.
And those disgusting fucking Yankees pinstripe uniforms. I wanted to throw up.
Yeah, not my favorite.
My first Notre Dame game was against Syracuse, and Notre Dame lost. I want to say it was by a missed field goal. And me and my dad had sat in the crowd. It was fucking 2 feet of snow on the ground. We were shivering. Man, I was like, I don't know, 10, 11. I don't even remember how long ago it was. But I'm pretty sure it was the first time I wanted to commit suicide, though.
Thomas, we are not in the same garage right now. We are in opposite garages.
That would be kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
Yeah, so yeah, I just want to bring that game in there. I mean, I'll tell you now, Syracuse is on my betting line this week. I'm taking them on the spread, but I might also throw something at the money line just because it's got to be pretty decent, probably like plus 265 or something. So we'll see what happens.
We're happy you like the backdrops.
At least I got a Bears flag up there.
Yeah, a couple Notre Dames back here.
I thought we had one in this garage. I was looking before we started the show, but apparently we don't. I'll tell my roommate to put one up in there.
Tomorrow when I move my wife's car out of the garage, I'll do a little video for the Twitter page because I don't want to toot my own horn, but my garage is pretty fucking sick.
So next matchup that we could kind of talk about a little bit, I guess, is Florida and Kentucky. Florida coming into this game ranked 22nd. Kentucky coming into this game undefeated. It's at Kentucky. I'm seeing that Kentucky is a slight favorite in this game.
Yeah, which, if I remember right, it's only a point or two, but they are unranked, I believe, right?
Yeah, no, they're unranked.
Yeah, and Florida's 22. Okay.
Yeah, so kind of interesting to see. I feel like Kentucky is this team every year who gets to number 24, number 23, and then they lose that. Then they have that game where it's like, oh no, we got to play freaking Oklahoma. We got to play Texas now, and then they end up losing. So far, Kentucky hasn't had a really good strength of schedule. They are 1-0 in the SEC, and that was a win at Vanderbilt last week. Florida has been tested. First week, they played Utah. They went and beat Tennessee. They've had these tough games already. That's the one thing that I look at when it comes to this matchup is Florida is a little bit more experienced in terms of having that big game. Who is Kentucky? We really don't know. They have the advantage of being at home right now and for this game. But if this was at the Swamp, I think this would be a much easier game to pick. But we don't really know who Kentucky is because Kentucky hasn't had that for sure matchup. It's Vanderbilt. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take you seriously. So They did beat them handily, 45-28, but it's Vanderbilt. They haven't shown me anything. The only thing I know about Vanderbilt is Jay Cutler went there.
I was just going to say, if Jay Cutler's watching right now, he's going to be pissed. Same way we pissed off that Iowa coach. Yeah, I mean, -1.5. I looked it up. At Kentucky, 11 a.m. kind of changes the atmosphere a little bit. I feel like going away in any close matchup at night always puts that much more odds against you. I don't know if you maybe feel the same way.
Yeah, I for sure do. I think it's always a more intense atmosphere. I said it with
we talked about Penn State or Vatek. I mean, like those are not places you want to go play at 7 p.m. prime time.
No, I mean, it doesn't even matter if those teams that are having a down year that year, you're playing them in week 10 of the season, and Virginia Tech's 4-5 or
right
anybody. So, and I mean, anytime you're in the SEC, the Big 12, any of those conferences, you're always going to have intense crowds for big games. When you're playing a ranked opponent, like every college student wants to find a way to rush that field at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
I mean, if Kentucky beats Florida tomorrow, I guarantee they rush the field. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Florida responds, continuing to get better week by week. We said at the beginning of the year that Florida just wasn't there yet, but it's a new regime. They're trying to put everything in place, but they're playing decent football. They've been battle tested. They went and beat Tennessee, which Tennessee was ranked like 12th or something at the time. So I think we got to give Florida their dues here. I'm going to give Florida the slight edge. It's not something that I would bet on just because I don't know who Kentucky is, but I'm going to give Florida the slight edge in it. I just think that they're the better. They're the more battle-tested team right now.
Yeah, and that's a problem with not having a college football type red zone. Teams like Syracuse and Kentucky, I don't pay enough attention to as I'd want to. I don't think they make boxes big enough for that many red zones at once.
It's hard. You know, we actually have full-time jobs and stuff that we have to go to every week. So we don't get to sit there and analyze every little thing as much as I'd love to be able to do that and make money doing that, like crazy money doing that. But that's just not what we have the time to do. So sometimes the Kentucky's
not there yet
of the world do fall by the wayside.
I did just notice while we're on the topic, I don't know what Tennessee's been doing. Not losing, but schedule wise, they are still ranked ahead of Florida.
Yeah, I think that's because Tennessee was so highly rated at the beginning of the year. Florida did win in the Swamp. You know, one more loss changes that, I think. I
mean, Florida plays that game at Tennessee, and Tennessee's probably out of the top 25, and Florida's probably 19, 20, 21 instead of 22.
Yeah.
I just always found that asinine.
Yeah, it's something that you see even like when it comes to like the end of the year, and in past years, say if Penn State was ranked 17th and Ohio State was number 2 and Penn State upset Ohio State would fall to 5 and Penn State would move up to like 10. And you would just be like, well, how does this make any sense? Just.
Yeah, I've had my issues with the AP over the years, but like I'd mentioned earlier, that's very far from my job. But let's head over to Georgia. They have another SEC battle this week.
Yeah, so the number 1 team in the nation, back-to-back national champions. No one's been able to beat them for way too long of a time. Is Auburn going to be the team that beats them?
Initially, no, but like I looked over their schedule. They beat the shit out of teams, and the only tight-ish game they had was South Carolina.
Yeah, so the only SEC game, we actually said that on that 2 weeks ago, that was the first time that we were seeing them actually have a tough opponent in a way. You know, South Carolina being that middle line kind of between good and bad each year. And South Carolina stayed in the game. They were leading the game for a bit, but it was a really close one. Georgia dominated the second half. I think they scored 21 unanswered, if I remember correctly, because it was 14-3 South Carolina at one point. So Georgia ended up taking care of business, and now you get to face Auburn at Auburn. Auburn's just seems like to be the school in the SEC that struggles to find the right dynamic at quarterback and just offense in general. Their offensive numbers are not very good. They do run the ball well with a lot of different running backs. They average 197 rushing yards per game, but the passing yards is well below 200 per game. The quarterback there has not had a great season. I believe it's Peyton Thorne, which, if I remember correctly, is a Michigan State transfer. All these Michigan State transfers, what's going on with that?
Zach, you still on YouTube? Drop it in.
But Peyton Thorne is the quarterback there. He's got 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, not up to par for the SEC, and ultimately will probably be the dynamic that causes them to lose. Texas A&M blew Auburn out last week. I even look at it as a 14.5-point spread, and I haven't put it on my betting list, but it might be something that I look at tomorrow, just because I don't think Auburn can play offense, and Georgia's going to score in some way. And if the offense has that hard time struggling throwing the football, and Georgia's defense is gonna eat them alive.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy at work today, a buddy of mine. He was saying we're kind of bullshitting about how Georgia isn't so much Georgia of the past 2 years on the offensive side, apart from what's his name, Brock Bauer.
Yeah,
but their defense is just fucking unreal.
Yeah, I mean,
you got grown ass men ready to hit out there every single snap.
And I think that you're going to have that. You're going to see a little bit better side of the Georgia offense this week too. Just kind of putting it together a little bit more, because the defense is going to put them in good situations. So that's kind of been a thing of the past. I think it's going to be something that happens this week. It's going to be hard, because I remember watching Thorne throw the football at Michigan State. Zach confirming. Thorne is not the best passer, and anytime they try to throw the ball, if you're going to try and beat this team, you got to throw the ball. I see Georgia scoring at least one defensive touchdown in this game. So it's going to be tough for Auburn to handle. They're going to have to use their crowd and hope that it keeps them in it. Got to have a good game plan. It's going to be up to the coaching staff, like making sure that they convert and that they have to outcoach Kirby Smart, and that's not easy to do.
Good luck. It's got to be so hard being an Auburn fan. Like, you're in Alabama territory. Well, you're in Alabama, and then like your neighbors, cousins, friends, family, like everybody's got to be a Crimson Tide fan.
Yeah,
you don't recruit well because of where you are. I mean, Cam. What besides for Cam's year? I mean, I can't think of another major year like a win. And no. Cam started at Florida. I'm fairly certain. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was a Florida transfer.
Yeah, I believe he was. He was, because I saw it in that the Florida documentary that Netflix put out.
Yeah. I didn't make my way over to Swamp Kings yet. Did you watch Kelsey though?
Oh, it's a good one. You should watch it. No.
Kelsey was pretty great. But before we get off Georgia, going back into the future a little bit again, Georgia does have a couple ranked opponents. Obviously, they have to play the SEC. After tomorrow, they have Kentucky, who we'll find out tomorrow if they are anybody. Vanderbilt, who we already decided is not anybody. Florida, who might be somebody. Missouri, also kind of in the might area. Ole Miss, who we're going to find out again tomorrow how they do against ranked SEC opponents. Second to last week in November, they have Tennessee, and then they finish at Georgia Tech. I don't think Georgia loses a game this year.
No, I looked at the beginning of the season. And I didn't think Georgia had the most impressive SEC schedule. They could walk their way through it maybe, and they might be a downer team. And then the SEC championship game, you're getting a good team either way. So,
it's one of two obvious choices, I believe. But yeah, I mean, Georgia's built for it. Great defense, great tight end, fantastic coach. If they could three-peat, and I really don't see how they don't, it's going to be a sight to see because, frankly, I'm sick of them, but I don't know if there's ever been a three-peat.
I don't believe that there has. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes down. It's tough to go undefeated year after year after year.
I think Clemson. I think they just broke Clemson's record of straight home wins. It was like 36 or something like that.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's like, until someone beats Georgia, I just don't think you're ever going to pick against Georgia or believe someone's going to beat Georgia. We'll see as the season progresses. Maybe there's a week where I'm sitting here saying, this is the week Georgia goes down.
Does it get to that point where we just start betting Georgia minus 20,000 and just keep making $1 every bet until we become rich?
Yeah, I mean, might be a game plan. So,
all right, I think that concludes the games we highlighted, I believe.
Yeah, nothing else really that I want to sit there and go deep into. We'll see what happens. There could be a lot of fun matchups that end up going along the way. I know that you kind of brought up the Heisman talk earlier. We said we would start previewing the Heisman talk.
Roughly third of the season through. So
yeah, one thing I wanted to point out. Obviously, we mentioned that Michael Penix Jr. has jumped ahead of Caleb Williams, but the Bleacher Report updated Heisman race that you brought to my attention, they do it in terms of tiers. One thing that sticks.
I wrote the tiers out. The way that I read the original article was like almost a playoff sort of deal. It was like in the hunt.
Okay, I just want to stop really quick though. Tier 4 has Kyle McCord in there. So this list is bullshit. I don't care to hear about it anymore. Kyle
230, and that man is a fucking living legend. He beat Notre Dame. His name's on there. He'll receive 0 votes, but his name's on there.
He didn't even throw a touchdown pass.
Hey, put some respect on his name.
Don't put that guy on the list. That guy sucks. Sorry, Kyle McCord, you suck.
Put Audric Estime on that list. Put Lou Holtz on that list.
Yeah. Ryan Day. Frick. Unbelievable. But yeah, I can't disagree. Top 4, though, Bo Nix, Quinn Ewers, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr. That's what we're going to be watching the rest of the season, I think. It's those 4. Sam Hartman could be in there. I thought Audric Estime had a shot being in there. But
Jordan Travis could be in there.
Yeah, Jordan, I don't really think too much. I don't think too highly of Jordan Travis. I've watched too much Florida State football over the last couple of weeks. I am not impressed. But that's my opinion. But I'd rather see Jaden Daniels. I mean, I would say Jaden Daniels over him. I'm a lot more impressed by Jaden Daniels than I am Jordan Travis.
Yeah, so the second tier on there is Hartman, McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, and Jordan Travis. Not that McCarthy's been bad, but what the fuck is he doing on the second tier when he's played Eastern Carolina and Rutgers, who was a fine-ish team? I mean, he hasn't played anybody yet.
Backfield, I mean, they're a run system for the most part. JJ McCarthy is solid, good quarterback to have back at Michigan this year. I know that they really love having him, but
he's a LaGrange boy, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he's a Heisman candidate at this point. Just I haven't seen it. Michigan is 0-4 against the spread this year, so I that you can't put a guy in a Heisman race if he can't even cover spreads.
Yeah. I feel like I remember somebody's talking about that in the first episode of this show. Rome Adunzi, Washington wide receiver, and Blake Corum from Michigan are the only non-quarterbacks on this list. It's return man and wide receiver in Washington, and Corum, obviously, the running back for Michigan.
Yeah, so Corum makes the list. JJ McCarthy makes the list. I mean, hand-in-hand kind of thing, I guess. But yeah, very interesting to see how this list kind of plays out. Sucks that, our guy Travis Hunter got hurt and couldn't be on this list, because I think he definitely would have if that injury did not happen to him. But, be nice to DraftKings to refund my money for my bet on that. But
I'm happy I got my Nick Chubb money back. I don't think we're getting that one back, bro.
Yeah. I lost money last night on freaking Musgrave getting hurt. Cost me a $518 winner. So.
Oh, that's the concussion, the bullshit concussion protocol I saw.
Yeah. So, but nonetheless,
when Aaron Jones was putting up 0.3 in the second quarter, I said that's enough. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I was at work listening to a game. I didn't listen to the Cubs game because my heart hurts with them. I mean, it's been a bad week of sports for me, but I got some Connor Bedard highlights in there, so I felt good for a little bit.
Yeah, fucking Blackhawks preseason kicking off. Connor Bedard.
I know we're getting off topic again, but I think the Connor Bedard thing really is the reason why I got hyped up about the college football week, because the way that he looked last night, the pass to win the game to Anthony Asiu, like I'm just sitting there thinking Connor McDavid vibes in terms of like 3-on-3 in overtimes this year. If you got the speed of Anthony Asiu with Bedard, oh dude, so good. But nonetheless, so yeah, I think we'll see how the Heisman race continues to progress going forward. But yeah, I like that tier 1. That's where I would stick with. Outside of that, how about the Mel Tucker news?
Shit. Officially fired. I'm not sure if it was 80 or 79. I want to say it was 79 and they rounded up.
Yeah.
$1 million remaining on his contract. And immediately Mel Tucker files a wrongful termination suit against Michigan State.
I don't think he's filed it yet. I think that he is
in the process of.
He'd let them know that I am going to file a suit for wrongful termination. I've seen a lot of stuff on this week, a lot of opinions. Me and you talked on the side about an article that I saw from The Athletic that really kind of just.
That stuff is. I don't even want to bring that up.
I don't want to get into it. I'm not going to get into it, but it kind of grinds my gears.
It reminds me of the Brian Flores shit from Miami. It's not just stop publicating bad articles. The Athletic, please. It's clickbait. That's why we had this conversation.
I want my dollar a month
ago. I'm not paying a fucking dollar for The Athletic. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well, I decided to. They do put out some good little betting sheets that I do like, and I do like kind of some of their Blackhawk stuff from time to time, but it depends.
That's Lazarus, right?
Yeah. So, but Mel Tucker, we'll see. Innocent until proven guilty. I mean, we heard what was said, what was done with the situation. Just something to follow along, something that unfortunately is going to follow this Michigan State program for a little bit longer. And not something that you really want to see. Like, I want Michigan State to be able to move on from this and just continue to play football. That's what we all want to do. I mean, even with Northwestern, we've heard it, the Pat Fitzgerald stuff, and it seems like they've moved on and they're just playing football. That's where we want to get at.
Right. And whether he's innocent, guilty, it doesn't matter. Michigan State did the right thing by wiping their hands clean of it. You don't want this solo name to drag down your entire football organization.
Yeah.
You want these players to have clear heads. I mean, you brought back D'Antonio, and there's an interim coach there. They're doing what they can with what they have. And it's, start fresh. Turn a page in the playbook. Start fresh. Get it out of your head. That guy is nobody to you, nobody to the university. We have a team here, and that's what's important. Weeks 5 through 12 now.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree. I'll when we get to the end here in a little bit, I'll be talking about Michigan State and Iowa in terms of the betting segment. I know that me, you, and our boy Fat Zach have talked about it earlier this week in terms of what we think on it. So what's coming there. One thing that you put into our little pod notes that I haven't really seen much about, but just kind of want to mention it because I think it's funny. New Mexico State quarterback Diego Pavia took a Mexico logo. New Mexico State still hasn't punished him, but
I don't know if they haven't punished him. They're just not saying what disciplinary actions were taken.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to hype your team up, I always forget his name, Blaine Gabbert's brother, the Miami of Ohio quarterback. He's trying to pump his team up, man. He's trying to get his team going. You don't take a piss on another team's logo.
I mean,
and you definitely don't let your friends videotape you doing it.
Yeah, that's kind of where the fault is. I remember being a kid and watching like Degrassi and like their rival school on Degrassi. They would go and like trash the rival would come and trash their locker room, and they'd go trash their locker room or steal their mascot or whatever stuff like that. Not stuff that you really think happens in real life. Saved by the Bell too. I remember that. But
you're missing Friday Night Lights and Blue Mountain State. We can have a podcast just about this.
Yeah. Okay. So everything that's ever involved a high school, I guess. It's what always happens. But yeah, now there's cameras everywhere. Like, I get it's funny, but probably a mistake.
Man. Yeah, it's funny. Some might say it's fucked up. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I think I'm all for it. Good for him.
What's fucked up is he got caught.
Ready to beat them if they let him play.
He got caught. And I could be totally wrong. Didn't New Mexico State beat New Mexico last week? Or was it the other way around?
I'm going to tell you something, Chris. I have never paid attention to New Mexico State or New Mexico. The only thing I know is that Brian Urlacher went to one of those schools. So
you're not a Lobos guy?
No, not something I pay attention to. So I have no idea who won that game.
It was 2 weeks ago. And yeah, New Mexico State beat them by 10.
Okay.
So, instead of salt on the wound, piss on the wound. To each his own. I think it's funny. He got caught, which is the only real dumb thing I see. I don't know. Don't let your kids listen to this.
Speaking of funny, a little thing that I saw earlier this week. We'll kind of finish it here, leave it with a good feeling, and then go into the betting for the week. Iowa State has 4 players that have received an NIL deal. The players' names are, and this is from a company it's the Iowa Pork Producers Association. So take that into consideration while you're hearing these names.
I assume that's a butcher shop.
It's a association of pork.
Okay. All right. Continue.
So DB Miles Purchase, tight end Tyler Moore, defensive lineman Tommy Hammond, and linebacker Caleb Bacon. Purchase, Moore, Hammond, Bacon have all received an NIL deal from the Iowa Pork Producers Association because their 4 names make Purchase, Moore, Hammond, Bacon.
I fucking love it.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than this.
This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like, so many things have to happen in a row for something to be perfect.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
honestly, you got to give like whoever sat there and said, "Oh, let's go through the Iowa State players." Oh, purchase more.
Oh,
Hammond.
purchase and bacon. And then the guy across the room's like, holy shit, you didn't see more in Hammond.
Yeah. Just holy. It's so funny to me. I've been laughing about this since I saw it 2-3 days ago. I've been waiting to do this on the show. Like, I just think it's the greatest thing in the world.
Is that what got you through the week? You were waiting to talk about this on the podcast?
No, I told you it was Connor Bedard.
My bad.
Still Iowa State, you're on my shit list either way. I still hate you guys. So for losing all my bets. So with that perfect segue, it's time for the betting segment of the week before we get out of here and enjoy the weekend. So I went and revisited my numbers throughout the year. Just to do it, I thought I was one game above. I did not include all the pushes. I think I have like 5 to 7 pushes this year. So I'm not including that in the record anymore because at the end of the day, they're all just washes. Who needs to know how many freaking ties I had? So throughout the year, 23-19 so far against the spread. Honestly, I see a lot of guys that are getting paid getting paid big money to write articles on a constant basis that are 18-19, 17-20, and whatnot. Well, I'm 23-19, so that's positive, and take that. So I'm going to continue to put these bets out there. Tonight, I got 2 bets that I want to put down. The first one being what we talked about earlier with Utah and Oregon State. I got Utah plus 4.5 against Oregon State later. We don't have to reiterate everything that we said at the beginning of the show, as this was the first game that we talked about, big Friday night game. But if Cam Rising is out there, I think it's a loose cover. If Cam Rising is not out there, I think it's going to be a tight game. It could go either way. But Utah's defense overall, I think, will handle it and take care of business. You there?
I'm there. I'm waiting for you, man. This is where I take the back seat.
Oh, well, you're supposed to be like the co-host at this moment.
I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I forgot my long shot of the week, and I've been scrolling through DraftKings looking for it.
I remember what it is if you don't get there. So, all
right, Bruno's gonna announce it this week.
BYU tonight against Cincinnati. BYU -1. I believe the game is at BYU as well. I'm taking BYU here. I think this is kind of a weird number. I know Cincinnati's been a really good team over the past few years, but BYU's had some pretty stiff competition at the beginning of the year. They look good overall. I'm going to go with BYU -1 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati did play Oklahoma last week. They lost 20-6. They didn't score a touchdown. They didn't cover the spread. They pushed the spread or they lost the spread, depending which book you're using. But I'm going to go with BYU -1. Might just make it money line. See how the line moves. I kind of was waiting back on it. I did make a 4-leg parlay this morning on the 4 games or 3-leg parlay on 3 games that are 3 of the 4 games that are tonight. And I took all the teams that I think I might have got BYU +1 this morning. So it's -1 now. So probably should have took it this morning now that I think about it. But took all the teams that were plus when I saw it earlier today. With that, going to Saturday slate. Started off with USC and Colorado. Last week, we saw Colorado get dismantled by Oregon. USC, the only downfall that I see with them is that their defense is probably not as good as Oregon's. USC just seems to struggle in that territory. But nonetheless, I think USC scores at will. Could be like a 56-21 final, 56-28. I hope Colorado scores a little bit more this week just for, just to have some good feels there still. But USC -21.5. I think USC will cover this. I might look at the over-under. We'll see. But going to go with USC -21.5 here.
Are you not worried about the second string effect with this week? Because
I don't worry about it with
thinking
USC.
that 55 last week would have been nice with Oregon.
I don't worry about it with USC.
You don't think Lincoln Riley's going to be like, I have a Heisman candidate here?
Yeah,
he doesn't want to go to the Cardinals or the Bears. It might get him a whole extra season.
I think USC wants to score 63, 70 points. I think that a lot of coaches also probably want to like put prime time down while they still can, because it's not going to last forever.
Shit on him a little bit, because in 2 years' time, he's probably going to be taking the tops off all these teams.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I do get that.
So I'm taking USC big here. I think that's the way it's going to go down. I don't trust Colorado to stay in the game after what I saw last week and the injuries that are piling up on them. Also, I debated if I was going to put this on there, being a homer and whatnot, but as long as Notre Dame sticks to the game plan, as we stated earlier, I'm taking Notre Dame minus 5.5 this week. Notre Dame should win by 2 touchdowns if they stick to a good game plan. I think that it's going to be competitive. I'm not putting Duke down in any way. I said Duke can beat them if Notre Dame doesn't have a good game plan. But I think overall Notre Dame's the better team. The defense is stellar. The offense, let's make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do in terms of that, running the ball with Audric Estime, and Notre Dame should cover this game. Another game that we also talked about earlier that I kind of just brought in there was Syracuse and Clemson. Told you I might take Syracuse money line, but Syracuse plus 6.5, finding it at plus 7 some places. Let's take Syracuse this week. Last year, Syracuse lost by 6 when it was 2 ranked teams. Clemson's on a down year so far, 2-2, losing to Duke and losing to Florida State late. I think Clemson's on upset alert, but taking Syracuse with the points is a guarantee for me.
You have fully convinced me. I think I might toss a little bit on Syracuse against Clemson tomorrow.
Hell yeah, we're in.
I'm also liking our buddy Fat Zach down there in the comment section. MSU spread in the under.
So,
I mean, as long as the under isn't 10.5, which it might be close. Never touch an Iowa over.
Yeah, no, I think it's 44.5 I saw. So that is on my sheet. I got Michigan State. I'm seeing that it's at plus 10.5 at a lot of places now. It was plus 12.5 earlier in the week. Kind of changing a little bit, but I am going to ride with the Spartans, kind of rebound a little bit. I don't know if they'll win the game, but rebound a little bit from where I've been picking against them. I picked against them last week. It worked out. This week I'll pick for them. So I'm going to take Michigan State plus 12.5 this week. Fat Zach's taking the spread in the under. So
I'm riding with Fat Zach. I'm not crawling out of their ass just yet. I haven't found my step ladder, so
yeah,
I'm taking the under.
Iowa
I'm taking MSU spread.
So yeah, MSU. We'll lock that in for sure. Another one. 2 teams that really aren't having the best of seasons. We got Boston College and Virginia. Virginia's 0-4. Boston College is 1-3. Boston College minus 3.5 against Virginia. It's at Boston College. Boston College showed something 2 weeks ago. They almost beat Florida State. They lost to NIU. Boston College starting the year struggling, but they showed a little bit of something against Florida State. I think that's going to continue and they're going to continue to improve upon that. Virginia 0-4 hasn't really shown the ability to compete this year yet. So I'm going to take Boston College minus 3.5 at Boston College. So a really 1-3 versus 0-4 matchup, not the star-studded matchup you're looking for, but I think that Boston College is a very good pick in this one.
Might not tune in, but you might check Bleacher Report every so often.
Yeah, checked what the scores are. Got LSU. We talked about it earlier. LSU Ole Miss. The spread is 2.5. LSU minus 2.5. We both were in agreement that this is going to be an LSU game. It might even be something where LSU minus 9.5 might even be out there, like just kind of up it and make some money on it. But I'm going to take the spread for sure. I think LSU is going to be the better team here. I think that they had a down week last week, and after a down week, they're going to have a great week. So we're going to go with LSU minus 2.5. I mean, all they have to do is win by a field goal, and even when they struggled last week against Arkansas, they won by a field goal. So I just can't see this not going that way. Ole Miss crowd, that's going to be maybe the difference maker that makes a swing in it.
Yeah, and I don't think that Ole Miss crowd makes that difference though.
Yeah, so we'll go there. Another oddball one that people are like, who are these teams? I got Georgia Southern versus Troy. Georgia Southern -1. See what you get it at. See where the money line is. Georgia Southern's a really good team. They've been around for a little bit. They play very, very good football. Troy has been good for the last. I think they were bad like 2 years ago. Like they didn't win game. I remember it might have even been from when I was at NIU. Like time's weird, but I think that Georgia Southern's undefeated this year. Troy is 2-2. Georgia Southern has always been a team that I've liked to watch over the last couple years as one of those weird games that's just randomly on ESPNU. And they always seem to be a little bit a step ahead of other teams. No different here. They're a 4-0 team again this year. They probably are on the verge of being ranked shortly. So I'm going to go with Georgia Southern -1. See what you get it at. I think that's a really good pick. Team that we didn't talk about today that we talked about it in a little bit in terms of Michael Penix Jr., but Washington -18.5 this week. Big spread.
Arizona, right?
Yeah. Arizona, not thought to be great. They're a 3-1 team, though. They've been pretty good. I won't take that away from them. You're 3-1, you're doing fine. But Washington, I in my watching and what I have seen so far, I think Washington is the number 1 team in the country. I think that they are the best team. Obviously, I can't sit there and say it against Georgia, but at the same time, they've impressed me more than Georgia has.
There's only one time we'll be able to see that matchup.
Yeah. I am going to be big on Washington throughout the year. If you have not watched them, watch them. They are fun. Their return man, wide receiver, their quarterback play, their everything about Washington is fun to watch. Take the time. If you see that Washington's on your television, watch them. I think it's a late game tomorrow night, so 9:15. There's nothing else on. Watch Washington. Washington -18.5. I just got to go with it. Until I see some ridiculous number, I'm probably going to have Washington on my picks every single week. So,
yeah, I don't think Arizona comes close to that spread. I will be watching it. Tomorrow is the first Saturday where I don't have even anything small to do. So as soon as I'm off work, I'm going to be in that chair by those TVs, and I'm going to be running all day from the fridge to the side of the garage to piss and back to the seat.
Yeah, that's how it's done.
So noon 15 to 9:15 to 12:15, I'll be out here.
It'll be a fun day for both of us. I'm a garage person. You're a garage person. We like to hang out in garages and watch football. It's kind of great.
Basements are cool when it's cold out. Garages are cool when it's warm out. It's simple math. Is that all you got, Brew, for your betting slate, or do you have a couple more for us?
I got 2 more. Got South Carolina +11.5. South Carolina's been a very impressive team, like in terms of how they played against Georgia, staying in the game, not letting Georgia just manhandle them like you might have thought. This week they're playing Tennessee, a team that has lost to Florida earlier this year. Tennessee is a good team, but South Carolina, I think that 11.5 is a big number. They only lost by 10 to Georgia. how much you expect them to lose to Tennessee by when they got blown out basically by Florida. So I think this is a good pick. I think it's a good spot for South Carolina. I know they want that big upset on their hands this year. So I think that they're gonna do everything that they can to make sure that they get it, stay in this game. They might do that little thing that I hate, and that's play not to lose. But when it comes to spreads, sometimes playing not to lose is good for us. So I'm going to take South Carolina plus 11.5. And then the last game that I had for is another kind of oddball one. Won't talk too much about it, but Texas State minus 6.5 against Southern Miss. Southern Miss normally a really good school, but they're off to a struggling start. Texas State had a big win earlier in the year. I can't remember exactly who the frick they played now, but they played a team that's a Power 5 school. They're normally a top tier program. So I don't know why I am blanking on this right now. I kind of want to find it really quick because I actually normally write down these little notes, and for some reason I didn't, and whatever. But okay, it was Baylor. So they beat Baylor by 11 points. Baylor might not be the best Baylor team that they've been, but nonetheless, like Baylor. Texas State is a school that you think Baylor would handle. Instead, Texas State came out there and basically blew them out, winning by 11
goddamn
points.
Texas versus Texas matchups I've been talking about.
Yeah, so Texas State minus 6.5. I like them in this spot. And that's where I'm going to conclude my betting segment. Did you find your bet, Chris?
I found it. The lock.
All right.
I am undefeated, unlike Bruno's 20-something for 19-something.
23 and 19.
23-19. 23-19. I have West Virginia plus 13.5 at TCU.
Yeah, so I want to hear it on this one because West Virginia's been good. I know that, but
it's at TCU. It's a night game, but West Virginia's been a solid team. TCU's definitely taken a back seat from last year. They had many, many, many players drafted or left to become insurance salesmen. Admittedly, it was hard this week. I didn't find too many long shot spreads that I liked. But, I'm riding West Virginia. I'm undefeated. Scared money don't make money. Throw a dime on it. Throw 20 on it. I'm all in. ESPN2 might get the second TV for the second half if it's close at 7 p.m. So we'll see tomorrow. Brew, you got any thoughts on that? I'm not loving TCU this year.
No, we've talked about it before. I'm not really high on TCU either. West Virginia won a big game against Pitt 2 weeks ago, at least for them, because it's a big rivalry. They don't like each other at all. And West Virginia went and took care of business when I didn't think they can. I think it's a good pick. Honestly, it's going to be interesting to see. This is going to be really to determine what TCU team we have for the rest of the season, I think, and what West Virginia team we have for the rest of the season. I think West Virginia is 3-1 coming into this, but
West Virginia is 3-1. So both West Virginia and TCU started the season 0-1. They've won 3 straight since. I'm not sure the opponents other than Pitt for West Virginia, but they are 0-1 on the road. So this will only be their second away game, which is the only thing that I was a little hesitant on. And they're 500 against the spread. So it's going to be a close one, a little close for comfort to keep my undefeated status, but that's what I'm riding with this week.
You like how I added to the bottom of the line? I don't know if you saw there, but the bottom line, it mentions that you go.
Oh, there it is. Did you just do that right now?
No, I
did that. The whole time?
It's been there the whole time.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better with the streaming services here and change it up every single week for us. So
I like it. Fun week 5 slate previewed by Chris and Bruno. I like it. It's simple.
Yeah. I try to keep it simple, but this is going to be a fun week. We knew this show was going to go a little bit longer because it is a fun week. We thought last week's show was going to be the longest show of the year, but now we're getting the Heisman talk. we're getting into the BCS coming out in it's not the BCS anymore, is it?
Not
The
quite.
college football playoff. Jeez,
CFP.
I'm going back to the old times, but the college
Trying
football.
to bring back Eddie Lacy running all over my hopes and dreams.
So yeah, we. God damn it.
Yeah, struck a chord there, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. College football. Geez, there's a bunch of weird bugs flying around outside again. That's not good. But college football playoff this year, that's going to start coming out. So we're going to have more to see on that. Going to have to preview that on Fridays and whenever we do the show. Hopefully me and Chris, I've been trying to find a day where me and Chris could get out and maybe do a show on a Saturday morning at one of our local bars or something. We want to try and, continue to reach out and get more people going. So, tell your friends, Ron, Zach, we had someone else who was in the comments today. Thomas, thank you so much. Everybody who's watched, we love doing this. We're having a lot of fun. The more engagement we get, we'll continue to keep on putting you in and watching along. And if there's anything that's out there, follow us on Twitter. Let us know if there's something you want us to talk a little bit about before the week. We're open to suggestions. But we have a lot coming up. It's about to get busy this time of year for college football. Things are about to get intense in the Heisman race, college football playoff. We're going to see who's who. Every week from here on out should be pretty exciting. So just continue to follow along and get engaged, and we'll keep on doing the best that we can.
Absolutely. Guys, we appreciate all your love, support, comments. Keep commenting. Ask us questions. Give us thoughts. Zach, I will see you tomorrow morning. Kissy face emoji. Guys, if you want to buy some merch, head over to ontapsportsnet.com. They have merch. They got T-shirts. Nothing college football yet, but you get something plain like this representing the whole brand. Sox, Bears, Hawks, Bulls. Bruno, good?
Yeah.
Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay not sober, and have a lot of fun. This has been College Football on Tap by On Tap Sportsnet. Thank you.